I'm Ashton from EventChain for Investment Pitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Jason Sibley, the CMO of HowDooio. Jason, thank you so much for being on the show. It's a pleasure to have you on today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's amazing to come and talk to you today.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to learn a little bit about HowDoo, but if you could start off by giving a little bit of your background into the social media industry and blockchain and how you got involved.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. So I'm a 20-year veteran of marketing, which means that I've kind of been around with the evolution of lots of different technologies. The great thing for me is that I've been able to work with very big global brands on global campaigns in that time. So brands like Samsung, HP, IBM, and more lately, exciting brands like Google and Salesforce. So during that time, we had like the birth of really kind of like print marketing. We've gone through the birth of digital. We've seen the birth of search. We've seen the birth of social. Remembering now that Facebook's 14 years old and Twitter's 13, right? So those guys are kind of the institution now. And one thing that's always happened is that over time, the marketing channels have matured and they've become less effective from a marketing point of view. So, from my point of view, what I mean by that is they become more expensive. I mean, take Facebook today. Facebook's purely a pay-to-play, market. So if you want this video to be seen, having an organic audience in Facebook gets you nothing anymore. You've got to really go in there and be boosting all of your posts. So, I've kind of been through the evolution of spending marketing money and measuring returns. Now, in parallel to that, I also got into blockchain in early 2017, later than I should have done, of course, because I was kind of watching Bitcoin come up from about $300. And part of that was looking for real world adoption areas, right? So the big ones like banking and supply chain. And of course, being a social media marketer, I looked out for social media projects. And thankfully, I found HowDoo. I reached out. I was an advisor post ICO, just giving them my advice on what can you do to fix the problems as a marketeer that we find with current platforms. And to be frank, blockchain is just perfect for social media because it can address the modern issues of data protection, privacy, and ownership, and provide this transaction layer, within a social network. So big history in marketing, huge social media fan. I talk a lot on the topic, and kind of where blockchain seemed to be almost, for me, a perfect solution. So I was really excited to join the team at HowDoo formally last year.
That's great, Jason, and sounds like some great experience and insight into the now world of social media that is so cluttered and noisy, especially with Facebook and Twitter. And as you mentioned, it's pretty much pay to play. But now in comes HowDoo. Can you explain a little bit on how you're making a more clear and transparent social media experience using blockchain?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question. So, blockchains enable us doing a lot of things, right? But at the heart of it, let's talk about what we're trying to do to be different. So we're not a Me Too. We're not telling anybody to delete Facebook, delete Twitter. We're not saying we're a better version of those. We're also not a one-trick pony. So we're not coming out with a new AR filter to capture people's imagination, because what we've seen is that, those projects kind of come and go, right? So, take the current trend on TikTok. Well, I remember TikTok as being Musical.ly, and it was all about singing songs, and then that kind of faded. So they took the same platform, to do something else with it. So, our point of value really is that we're more like a content delivery system that's hosted in the blockchain with a social application layer. So we talk about us as being a social network, of course, because we want to be a secure place that people can come, have conversations without people listening, share likes and friends without somebody harvesting your data to sell to advertisers without your permission. But at the heart of us, we want to be able to use the blockchain to allow people to own their own content online and to directly monetize it to end users without having these expensive and slow intermediaries in the middle, sorry.
Definitely. That's great. And I'm sort of curious about the influencers, businesses, and content producers. How does the experience differentiate? You mentioned, it's pay to play on Facebook and Twitter for the most part, but how exactly are content producers that are looking to drive value experiencing something different with HowDoo?
The big thing is it's all being driven by the way people want to consume content, right? So we're not changing a market. We're riding on the wave of consumer behavior change. So nobody really wants to sit and watch a TV program at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night anymore. Yet when I was growing up, that was the programming. The big shows were all on Saturday night TV. Now people want to binge watch on Netflix. People want to consume content, and video on YouTube. So, what's happening is consumer content is changing. And what that means is that we're seeing this big new wave of content creators. Really, we're born in the YouTube generation. My mum told me growing up, you'll never make a living out of being great at FIFA, and how wrong she was. And I wished I'd stuck to that rather than my marketing degree, right? So, for me, it's about enabling people to monetize themselves directly, because at the moment, there is no platform that allows you to do that. Yes, some people will allow you to do picture-in-picture video streaming if you're a gamer. But they take up to 50% of your money and pay you on 60 days because of the technology that's kind of built on. So we've built a system that's fair and puts the balance over to the content creator. So they decide what they want to share, how they want to share it, and they also decide how they want to monetize it. So a great example, my favorite one, is actually tipping. So the blockchain allows transaction-free tipping. And as a seasoned marketer, I know that reciprocity is one of the strongest human triggers, right? It really is. So I'm a firm believer in giving value away, and then people feel compelled to give you something back. So the great thing about tipping is it's instant and the creator gets 100%. So whatever you're doing, if you're doing game tips, if you're in crypto and you're doing charting tips, if you're doing makeup tips, whatever it is that you want to provide, you can provide value to an audience in a social network, and they can just tip you. And all of that money delivered through our token that you do is available immediately in your wallet with no transaction fees. Now, of course, there's other things as well. So you can set up subscription channels, you can set up one-off pieces of content. And of course, we also have the obligatory advertising share too. But the bit where it's different for advertising for producers is you decide if you allow advertising or not. So if you allow advertising on your channel, you'll get a minimum of 60% of the ad revenue. As you get bigger, you can get to 80%. So you always keep the lion's share, but you decide if you allow it or not. It's not forced on your channel. And that's also same for users. So if users want to allow advertising, they get a share of the ad revenue through a passive income. If they want to be completely incognito and not share any data with advertisers, yes, they don't passively earn, but you're kind of in control. So we feel this combination of allow you to reach out to your audience, nurture and develop them, allow you to monetize yourself directly, but also give you control over what advertisers see, and also give your audience control, gives people this combination of control and fairness. And to be frank, it's only really the blockchain that allows it to do that. And my ambition is that, next year, nobody really cares about the fact that we're on the blockchain. Security and ownership and monetization is just a feature of the platform. Nobody worries what technology Facebook sat on, right? So, in order for us to break through this, we have to provide real value to creators and users. And I think that's ultimately going to be our differentiator in this space.
Wow, that's a lot of great background, Jason. I appreciate that. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into the monetization. There's two great things that you said there, which intrigued me. The first one is getting paid for your content. Now, when I think of other blockchain platforms, I'm reminded of Steemit, which I signed up as an early contributor, started producing, and was receiving some tokens for the post that I made. However, the system was very convoluted. And as well as a viewer, getting rewarded for seeing advertising really reminds me of the Brave platform, which I don't think is fully flushed out either right now. So, and there's a lot of convoluted experience involved with that, where to actually monetize it and cash out the tokens either into Bitcoin or cash and things like that. How straightforward is it for content producers and viewers to be able to actually cash out either into cold hard cash or to Bitcoin and to get out of the ecosystem?
I feel like we had a similar journey. So my journey before finding HowDooio initially with blockchain was on Steemit, because I write and I speak. So it's almost Steemit and DTube were kind of my first experience. But the whole process of, set up a bridge. So whatever that is, right? I'm not going to mention one here, but set up a bridge to put my fiat in to get my Bitcoin, and work out what exchange the token's on and send it over. What happens there is they're brilliant platforms that actually I use on a daily basis, but they're stuck within this crypto bubble. And what I mean by bubble is just in the sense of that it's hard for users that aren't in crypto to get into that, because both on the user and the creator side, because how do I tip or how do I pay and how do I withdraw the money? Now, what I just want to start off by saying is but that's the perfect case, right? You only have to go to Steam It Now and look at the top tipped blog. So even though there's all these barriers, you can earn easily $400 or $500 on a really insightful piece, well written on Steam It today. You really can. And that's not just on crypto topic. You can earn on any kind of topic. And that shows that people are willing to tip, even in quite a small audience. So the thing that we've been working the hardest on this year has been making the adoption crypto invisible, right? So the HowDooio is a token. It's a medium of exchange. I tip you, you cash out. So our biggest piece of work has been putting together our fiat gateway in the app. Mm-hmm. So we're currently in beta. We haven't turned the fiat gateway on, but that'll be fully live by the end of the year and ready for our big launch event in January. Now, what this means is that users will just be able to interact like you will be able to with things like V-Bucks in Fortnite, for example. You won't need to worry that there's cryptography in the background. You'll just be able to deposit some dollars using your card, and then creators will be able to spend directly from the app. Now, the big piece of news we're announcing this week is that creators will be able to apply, or in fact, anybody with HowDooios will be able to apply and receive a HowDooio Visa card. So you can put out a video in the morning, go get your coffee, and by the time you go to get your coffee, you might have received enough tips to pay for your Starbucks on your Visa card. Now, of course, if you're running subscription channels and then that could become a sizable amount that you're moving around, but that card won't be a charge card. It'll be a full-on Visa debit card that you can go to a cash point and withdraw cash. And we've spent the most time on this purely because it's the only way to break out of that crypto market. If we're not seamless, the minute we stop talking about blockchain, we can start talking about mass adoption. But why we say our differentiator is blockchain, really, it is no differentiator. We've got to bring the technology that blockchain offers completely to the masses. And that's why we're not really going to end users saying, come on board, because their first experience has got to be, how do I buy and cash out of tokens? Especially when they're getting passive advertising, because they should be saying, oh, I've earned $5 today. What do I do with it? Do I keep it in my token? Or do I cash it out to dollars or euros or pounds or whatever it is, to go and spend where I like? So that's our most exciting thing. So it's perfect timing because we're just about to announce the process to apply for your very own HowDooio Visa card and HowDooio Visa Black card if you're one of our kind of VIP creators. So yeah, it's an exciting time. And for me, that's going to be our tipping point, is when we move away from even talking about blockchain technology.
That's great insight, Jason. And now you mentioned you're in the beta right now. You're still working on the development to do the full launch in January. I'm excited to see that come out. When that does happen, I want to get into a little bit of the business behind HowDooio right now, if we can. How does HowDooio monetize and grow the ecosystem and create a sustainable business out of the network?
Yeah, because that's important for us, right? So, of course, our token holders are important about, are interested in utility. We're interested in actually growing a business. So we've built out, we've been very fortunate through our fundraising, through our token sales. So we have great budgets for things like exchange listings and to bring on creators, to bring on audiences. So part of that as well is to give us a good soft landing in terms of our time to revenue. So we're planning our time to revenue really start to kick in within the middle of next year. Now, what we're working on is a scalable ARPU model. And to make our numbers work, we're actually only starting from 25 cents per user as an ARPU, which is way below anybody's achieving at the moment. And we can run the business based on that purely because of the fact that we don't have to maintain these big servers to run the site, right? This is what the blockchain is for. So, we've got our series of super nodes and our seed nodes that are carrying the weight of the servers. So how we bring that money in is through multiple ways. The most obvious way that everybody goes with at the beginning is obviously share of advertising. And we're very lucky to already have some advertising partners on board because we've kind of been consulting with them on what they need. And the biggest thing they want is a predictable cost per acquisition. Nobody else does this in social media. So we will offer people a fixed cost per acquisition to whatever the content is. So if you're getting webinar signups and you want to only pay $5 per webinar signup based on your profile, then that's how you'll be able to configure your campaign. And we think this is a real unique edge. But the other areas of income are going to be not tipping, because we said tipping goes all the way to the creator. 5% of any subscription-based revenue or paywalls we take as a transaction fee. The kind of VIP channel subscription, that's a really growing area. So a lot of the creators want to give away content, but then invite people to VIP channels for extra special content. Now, when you realize that the transaction fees are so low, you can charge less. So everybody wins in this scenario. The creator gets more revenue, the user gets better value at a lower cost. And we also will have a very small hedge on the token purchases in the app. So yes, of course, we're going to have our token that you do on exchanges, and it will be, more effective to buy the token on the exchanges. But we will have a very small hedge, and we think of that like, if you're going traveling with Forex, right? So yes, you can go and buy on a Forex exchange and probably get the best rate on that day, or for convenience, you can rock up at the airport, and there will be we buy dollars, we sell dollars at. So it won't be extreme. It will be a small percent. We're just working on that now, but we're very fortunate that with the technologies there in the blockchain that enables us to run a relatively lean ship from an technical infrastructure point of view. So like I said, our time to revenue really is starting middle of next year. When we get up to 10 million users, we'll have around $1 million a month in revenue, which is an amazing platform to base from. And, our predictive targets is within the first 18 months, our target is to get to 40 million users. Now, my aim is to go beyond that. And if you look at current crypto projects, the amount of users they have, we will be by far one of the largest projects, definitely the largest in the kind of the space that we have. And that will be achieved through a combination of the fiat gateway, but also having great content providers bringing their audiences on board, which is kind of part of our launch plan.
Wow. Well, that's very exciting, Jason. I'm very excited to see the launch in January and then the lead up to the monetization and revenue streams. Are you guys right now looking for beta testers or more people for your team or maybe strategic partners? And how can they find out more information?
Oh, 100% yes. So let me reel off what we need, okay? Because we're fast growing. So the first one is we're hiring. So if you have a skill, particularly kind of creative or dev or something like that, we're constantly hiring. So please reach out, right? We also, recently confirmed some new partners. So Huawei is a big partner of ours. So, Huawei has 65 million daily users, one of the biggest handsets in the world. So, they launch alongside IBM and HP and the WCM, people like that. So, if you want to work out how you can create some tie-in and the value for our audience, again, please reach out for us. We're also looking for creators to work with. So if you have an audience and you're frustrated with being demonetized on YouTube or you've been deplatformed on Patreon, please give us a shout because we want to support you in the HowDooio ecosystem. So anybody with a community also reach out. Also, anybody who wants to buy a token, and get involved because it's still very early days. And we're excitingly planning on opening a Series A in 2022. So anybody that's interested in being part of the next social revolution can come reach us too. So all of our details are on our website, which is HowDooio. Anybody that wants to get involved in the community, just go to Telegram. It's the best place and search. And you can be in part of our community channel, but also be one of our beta testers and be shaping the platform. So, we have around 80,000 pre-signups waiting for us to let them in, but we have over 1,000 beta testers. And these guys are amazing. Every day they're so passionate. They're coming in with feedback. And so a good example of that is we've just launched a new feature called YouTube Sync. And that came from the beta testing group. Because they said, well, I've got a YouTube channel, but I'd like to be able to just synchronize the video on both, whichever way, right? So we've just added a YouTube and video bi-directional sync to HowDooio channel. So, if you've got something to add, please come and join the community. I am just JDS at HowDooio if you want to email me for anything too. But I spend a lot of my life, as I guess most people in crypto projects, in Telegram. So, the best way to get hold of me is come into Telegram. I'm incredibly active with the community, talking, answering questions, getting feedback. So it's a great place to start.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. I'll leave those links in the description box below. That's all the time that we have for today, but let's follow up in the near future.
Oh, I'd love to come back. Thank you so much.